Israeli troops have raided Gaza's biggest hospital, the Al-Shifa Hospital, the site of a long standoff. The Israel Defense Forces say that they were targeting Hamas militants and trying to avoid civilian casualties. But aid organizations are warning the fighting will worsen the already dire situation for patients and staff.
Footage from the Gaza Ministry of Health appears to show the frantic evacuation of patients after Israel launched its raid. The Israeli Defense Forces said explosive devices were discovered and suspected terrorists killed in the action. Israel says Hamas is directing, quote, terrorist activities from a command centre beneath the hospital. The UN estimates there are at least 2,300 people still in the hospital, including patients, staff and displaced Palestinians.
In recent weeks, the IDF has publicly warned time and again that Hamas's continued military use of Al-Shifa Hospital jeopardizes its protected status under the international law.
But the Palestinian Authority said Israel's raid was in flagrant violation of international law.
It never happened in anywhere in history that hospitals are targets. What is happening in Gaza is a very obvious, very clear war crime that Israel is committing against those who have been treated in the hospitals.
Israel's raid drew international condemnation. The World Health Organization called it totally unacceptable, while France said that Palestinians should not be made to pay for what it called Hamas's crimes. But Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told his troops that the raid was just the latest step on the road to his ultimate goal of eliminating Hamas.
They told us that we would not enter Al-Shifa. We've entered. And in this spirit we say a simple thing. There is no place in Gaza that we will not reach. There is no hiding, no shelter, no refuge for the murderers of Hamas. We will arrive and eliminate Hamas and return our hostages. These are two sacred missions.
As Israel released footage of its forces apparently pushing further into Gaza, the United States reiterated its concern for the safety of patients at Al-Shifa Hospital, but said it wouldn't address the specifics of an ongoing Israeli military operation.
Al-Shifa Hospital's head of surgery is Dr. Marwan Abusada, and we spoke with him today by phone. The connection was poor, but the doctor was able to tell us about what he had seen during the Israeli raid.
Last night at 2 a.m. in the morning, the Israelis were invaded one of the X-ray departments, and they stayed till this hour. I think half an hour ago they left this building. But I think they are still in the hospital in other places, in some buildings here, but not in the surgical buildings. During the stay here, they tried to invade some of the people there, and they destructed the whole X-ray department. They destructed the CT scan, and they bombed even the building of the CT scan, and also the MRI. They destructed it. And a lot of things like furniture they destructed, but I think there is nothing to found there. A lot of people, they were in the corridor in that building and so on. This is the issue. I think the CT scan was exploded because the wall is damaged. The wall of the building where the CT scan is located is damaged. I think they did some sort of explosion and so on. The Israeli left one building, but they did not leave the hospital. They didn't leave the hospital. So this is still, they are in some places. It is non-functioning place, like a kitchen and another department which is not functioning, and so they are still there.
And that was Dr. Marwan Abusada, Al-Shifa Hospital's head of surgery. And again, we apologize for the poor connection there. I want to cross over now to Sophie Fan. She's a correspondent with Germany's domestic TV service ARD, and she is reporting from Tel Aviv. She has been following the events in this war. Sophie, it's good to have you with us. Talk to me about the latest that we know from the hospital grounds tonight.
So as far as we know, the Israeli military raid in Al-Shifa Hospital, the biggest hospital in Gaza, is still ongoing. The Israeli military says it is a targeted and precise operation based on intelligence that Hamas is using the hospital for terrorist purposes. We cannot independently verify this. It is, in general, very hard to get information out of Al-Shifa Hospital today. It is hard to reach people. We've heard from an eyewitness that there was a lot of confusion, a lot of fear, a lot of chaos as Israeli soldiers were entering the complex, conducting searches and interrogating people on the ground.
And Sophie, has the IDF, have they told us what their forces found inside the hospital during this incursion?
So according to the Israeli military, they found weapons, they found rifles, body armor, ammunition, other military equipment. And for the IDF, the Israeli military, this is an indication that the hospital was used by Hamas for its own purposes. We cannot verify any of this. We don't have any access to these grounds at the moment. The US government said yesterday already that they also have intelligence information pointing to that. However, they said today they did not sign off on this specific operation in Al-Shifa Hospital.
And do we know about the IDF's next steps in this area?
The Israeli government and the Israeli army have repeatedly said that the goal is to destroy Hamas militarily and politically. And they've also repeatedly said that they assume that Hamas is using civilian infrastructure, such as hospitals, as command centers, that they're building tunnels underneath. So it is possible that we're going to see more raids in these kind of institutions. The question is also, will Israeli ground forces at some point move south in the Gaza Strip, as it is very likely that hostages have been taken south and that Hamas militants have escaped south. There are also rumors of a possible hostage deal. 50 hostages, 50 women and children in return for 5 days of ceasefire, and Palestinian prisoners from Israeli prisons, but we cannot confirm any of this.
Sophie Fan, ARD correspondent reporting tonight from Tel Aviv. Sophie, we appreciate your reporting. Thank you. Well, nearly 240 hostages taken during the Hamas attacks on October 7th are still in Gaza. Talks about freeing them continue. Relatives of the hostages have marched from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem in an attempt to put pressure on the Israeli government to bring their loved ones home. DW's Rebecca Ritter reports tonight.
Red Cross, do your job! Red Cross, do your job! Now!
We're on a major highway between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. These people behind me, family members and friends of some of the 240 hostages still being held in Gaza. They started off yesterday. They're making this 5-day journey between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem to try to raise awareness for the plight of their loved ones. You'll hear them calling Red Cross, do your job, UN, do your job. They're angry at the Israeli government and at the international community. They're frustrated that not enough is being done to bring home their loved ones.
We wait. I hope it's okay. You don't eat, you don't sleep. There is no day and night. It's impossible. I think they need to do, and everybody needs to do whatever it needs in order to release all kidnapped from Gaza. If they are doing enough, I'm not sure, because they are still in Gaza 40 days now. So obviously, it's not enough.
Not everyone here has a family member in Gaza, but as the people here tell me, there isn't a person in Israel who hasn't been affected by the events of October 7th.
We don't feel that enough is being done in order to bring them home. There are many other targets that Netanyahu and the government have selected, and we don't feel that we are in the first priority.
The marchers and an army of volunteer supporters will arrive in Jerusalem on Saturday night for a protest outside Benjamin Netanyahu's office, bringing their message directly to the Israeli government.
The United Nations Security Council has passed a resolution calling for urgent, extended humanitarian pauses in the fighting between Israel and Hamas in the Gaza Strip. The resolution also calls for corridors throughout the Strip to allow aid to reach civilians, and it urges the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages held by Hamas militants and other groups, especially children. It's the first resolution the Council has managed to pass since the war began more than a month ago. The United States, Russia, and the UK abstained.